And tonight on Coast to Coast AM, we're going to talk about a journey of understanding the nature of you, the universe, longevity, and how controlling your attitude is the key to controlling your life. Up next, Burt Goldman joins me on Coast to Coast AM. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. Burt Goldman is an author, therapist, lecturer, artist, photographer, musician, and metaphysical researcher as well, also known as the American Monk. Burt has been investigating parallel universes and how to reach them for decades. He's the leading researcher on quantum jumping, which is a technique that he devised to enable millions of followers to reach their doppelganger. That's the twin self, and share their talent and abilities. Here he is on Coast to Coast. Burt, how are you?
Fine. Thank you for having me, George.
My pleasure. My pleasure indeed. You know, I was just talking about Gibson guitars last hour, and you're a musician as well. What instrument have you perfected, Burt?
Well, I don't know if I've perfected it, but I took up the piano just about a year ago. Never played before. Don't know the first thing about it. Still can't read music. But jumped into another universe where I was the world's greatest pianist and came back, and here I start playing.
That's super. Hey, tell me a little bit more about yourself, Burt, other than, of course, the bio.
Other than the bio. Well, how far back you want me to go? When I first started this business of using the mind, using more of the mind, that was in 1946 in Korea, before anyone ever heard of Korea, before the Korean War. I met a Korean mystic, and he kind of whet my appetite. Then I was shipped to Hawaii, where I met a kahuna. And it was just one thing, one coincidence after another. Then when I came back to the United States after my discharge, somebody introduced me to Paramahansa Yogananda. I became a disciple, and I was off and running after that.
Good for you. Good for you. And it sounds like, just looking at some of the things you've done, that it's changed your life for the better in a dramatic way, hasn't it?
Totally. I've lived a good life always. I mean, that doesn't mean that I was into the millions. I mean, I was always satisfied. And I've always had a good life, and I've been teaching others how to attain that good life, for somewhat like, I guess, about 50 years now.
Well, good for you. And Bertie, as you know now, having a good life isn't just money. To me, it's being happy with what you have and being healthy and caring about the people that you love. I mean, if you could package that, you've got it made.
Absolutely. Ann Landers said it best, rich or poor, it's good to have money. But even more important is to have the right attitude. If you were to ask me to sum up everything that I know as far as the good life is concerned in one sentence, I would tell you I can give it to you in one word. That word would be attitude.
Yeah, it sure is. And you have met, I have too, Burt, people who have horrible attitudes. They're not fun to be around, are they?
No, they're not. I, at one time, used to do seminars in a shopping center, and the fellow that owned the shopping center was a multimillionaire. And one day I saw him out sweeping the parking lot. I walked over to him. I said, "Phil, what are you sweeping the parking lot for? Why don't you hire somebody?" He just grunted. I said, I never see you with a smile. You've got money, you've got a beautiful car, you've got a wonderful wife, you've got a beautiful house. Why aren't you happy? He said, "I'm not happy when I'm happy."
I'm not happy when I'm happy.
A lot of people like that.
Yeah, no, you're right, Burt. You're right. So let's talk about this quantum jumping. What is that?
Some time ago, I'm an avid reader, a voracious reader, and I was reading something about quantum physics because I was invited to talk before Edgar Mitchell's group, the
Noetic Sciences group,
Noetic
right?
Science, yes, in Petaluma. And so I wanted to find out a little bit more about what Dr. Mitchell did, and I got some books and I was reading. And one of the things that fascinated me was that the quantum physicists, many of them believe that there's an infinity of universes, bubble universes they call them. Now, infinity is beyond anything you can imagine. You can't even represent infinity. I like to define infinity as simply one more. If there's a trillion stars, there's one more.
Yeah.
One more trillion, one more trillion, and again and again. In each of these universes, and if it's infinity, in each of these universes, there's a duplicate of our present Earth, let's say. And in one of those universes, I'm interviewing you. You're not interviewing me.
That's
In
right.
another one, you're the King of England. In another one, you're homeless. Whatever you can imagine is. And now this is an accepted belief in the world of quantum physics. Now I live in the world of metaphysics, not physics. And I thought about that. I said, gee, I wonder if we could reach that self. If we could reach that self and bring back the talent of that self, wow, what a fantastic resource that would be. And the first time that I did it, I've been teaching meditation for many, many years, so meditation for me is nothing. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it's nothing for me to get into a meditative state.
Exactly. No.
So I went into a meditative state, and I just imagined that I was in a universe where I was a great photographer. And all of a sudden I got an impression of a man, and it was me with a hood over, those old-fashioned cameras, with a velvet hood over his head.
You're going way back. Those are the Lincoln-esque cameras, weren't they?
Exactly. I don't know why, but that's what came up. And I said to the me, I said, can you teach me how to take photographs? Because I didn't know anything about photography. And I heard, take a lot of pictures. And I thought, well, that's odd. Take a lot of pictures. Okay, so I got a camera, and I took a lot of pictures, and I had them developed. This was before digital. And I had a lot of pictures. So I go back, and I see the same guy. This is. I didn't know I was quantum jumping, but that's exactly what I was doing. And I see him again, and I says, I took a lot of pictures, but I just got a lot of pictures. And I hear, plant yourself. I said, what do you mean, plant yourself? And he kind of waves me away. I forget about it. So I'm in San Diego with my camera, and I figure I'll take a lot of pictures. I'll get a nice viewpoint. So I crawled around on some rocks at the marina, and as I'm crawling around on the rocks, it's getting slippery. So I slam my feet down on the rocks, and as I'm doing it, I'm thinking, gee, I'm planting myself. I wonder if that's what he meant. So now I'm standing perfectly still, making like a tripod out of myself, and I took about 3 rolls of film. At that time was like 100 and whatever pictures. I get them developed, and I lay them out all on my bed looking for the best one. But it's not 100 pictures. It's one. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I took a look at it, and I was astounded. All of a sudden, I was a photographer. And I started taking pictures like that. I did a lot of traveling at the time. I would go to Europe 4 or 5 times a year doing seminars, and I always brought my camera with me. And before you knew it, my photographs were hanging in a museum in Switzerland.
Good for you.
I became a world-famous photographer, and I don't know the first thing about photography.
That's
You
fantastic.
can see some of my pictures, actually. It's a totally non-commercial thing. It's at burtsart.us. I've got pictures, and I did it again. I figured anybody can do that. Maybe he can teach me how to sing. I did it with singing. I became a singer. I was offered a job. I'd never sung before. Then I'm thinking this can't be. This can't be. Let me try it with something I know I can't do. Art. I am one lousy artist. I mean, if you were to ask...
So you were trying to challenge yourself not to succeed, just
Exactly.
to see if it did work or didn't. Yeah.
Exactly, because I thought that, these are just talents that I had that were buried. Now, maybe they were, but it can't be. I'm skeptical of myself. Am I really going into another universe? How can I do that? Well, now I know what's going on, and I'll tell you in just a moment. But when I decided to try it with art, if I were to draw a picture of you or me or a person, I draw a circle for a head and like a stick figure, like a 5-year-old would do it.
Sure.
That's the extent of my art. So I went into a me. Again, I meditated and I jumped into another universe. By now I know I'm quantum jumping. And this time I saw me, kind of like a Van Gogh kind of a guy, painting. And I said, you can't really teach me how to paint, can you? And he said something about rhythm. I said, I don't know what you mean. He says, merge with me. And so I just imagined that I stepped into his body. And he says, now, just let me do the painting. And he was painting, and okay, fine. All the while I'm thinking, oh, am I going nuts? Am I having a nervous breakdown? What's going on here? Anyway, I come out of the meditation, and I go to an art store, and I buy a brush, I buy some paints, and I say, I'm going to see what I can do with it. Well, 120 canvases later, I became an artist, and I'm quite now. How is that possible? What is going on?
You have an ability to tap into things. Thank God you didn't want to be a baseball player.
You know, George, everybody has this ability, but this is the key. You see, you can't go into another universe and bring back, let's say, the dexterity of a violinist or the eye of a baseball player or the muscles of a bodybuilder. But what you can bring back with you is the rhythm that these people have, the energy, the vibrations,
the drive,
the motivation. Yes, yeah. The drive. Everybody has a particular rhythm. Every place has a particular rhythm. Everything has a particular rhythm. Every now and again you'll meet somebody, George, and you'll feel like he's your lifelong buddy.
Yep, you click.
Another time you'll meet somebody and you want to kick him in the rear end, and you don't even know him.
And run away from them.
And run from them. It's because of the rhythm. The rhythms are different. Cities have a particular rhythm. Places have a rhythm. Close your eyes and be transported to a church or a temple or a synagogue, and it's very peaceful. If you were transported to a police station or a hospital, it would be a totally different rhythm. You know it. Places have rhythms. Now, in another universe, when you go to a you with the talent that you want, what you want to bring back is that rhythm. And that rhythm will get you motivated to do the thing that you want to do. It could all be psychological. It doesn't matter. I only have one criteria. Does it work? And it works because I think we've had now 50, 60,000 people are involved with quantum jumping now.
And they're doing it all over the country.
All over the world.
All over the world. And they get into this meditated state in order to do it?
I don't. I can do it walking down the street. But when you start, you really have to be in the meditative state only for one reason. The meditative state, it's like a hypnotic trance, or it's like prayer. It's like all it is a concentration of attention. Normally, there's a million different thoughts. Well, I'm exaggerating. Thousands of thoughts, literally thousands of thoughts during a day flitting through your mind. You don't realize it, but one thing reminds you when you smell something, and boom, you're taken somewhere. You see something, you hear something. When you meditate, you're concentrating on one subject alone. That's why a mantra is so important. Not because the mantra is important, but because it takes your mind away from the minutia that you're normally thinking of. When you're meditating, then it's easy for you to visualize, to imagine that you in another universe that has the talent that you want to bring back with you.
Burt, when you were doing this, and now it's very easy for you, is it difficult for other people? I mean, as you said, some people have to get into this state of mind, but are there some people that just can't do it, never will do it? Or by saying never, is that a roadblock?
Okay. We have figures on this only because our website is quantumjumping.com. So when people go to that website, they see that all the things that I'm telling you were there on the site, but they also see something that we have to check this out. and that is an absolute money-back guarantee, no qualifications. Now, there's a reason for that. We know, when I say we, me and the people that market me, know that we're going to get, and this is through figures of people who ask for their money back, that about 6% of the people are going to ask for their money back no matter what you do, no matter what you have.
Yeah.
You could teach them to and give them 3 wishes. 6% are going to ask for their money back.
Right.
They don't like
even if all 3 came true.
Even if they all 3 came true.
Yeah.
Make me a malted. You're malted. Something like that.
Is this self-hypnotism?
Okay. That's a loaded question.
Of course. Everything I say.
Everything is self-hypnotism. What is self-hypnotism? It is to a degree, but it depends on how do you define hypnosis? I happen to be a trainer of hypnotherapists also. I have trained literally thousands of hypnotherapists.
Do you do past life regression, or do you just do this to help people?
Past life regression and past life therapy is very important.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. Once again, the criteria that I use is, does it work? Does it give you comfort? One of the things that I do is grief resolution. And grief resolution, this is not a past life thing. This is something that goes beyond that. Let's say when a parent dies. This is the worst kind of a death because there is, a sibling is bad also, and of course a child. But let's say a parent dies. When a parent dies, all kinds of guilt come to the surface. All of the things that you should have said that you didn't. All of the things that you did say that you shouldn't have. All of the resentments that you have. All the things all these come to the surface. But you can't really talk to the parent anymore. But you can. You can. With quantum jumping, you can. Because with quantum jumping, there's no time, and you can jump into the spiritual world just as well. And this I learned when I was doing hypnotherapy. To overcome grief, what I would do is take a person to the spiritual world and have them talk to the departed. Apologize for things and hear the departed talking to them and forgiving them.
Which happens most of the time, doesn't it?
It happens quite a bit of the time. Yes. I've seen more almost miraculous traumas erased not in months, not in weeks, not in days, not in hours, seconds, using that technique.
Dramatic. That is dramatic. And when people are in that kind of mode, how do they know, and how do you know, Burt, that it's not the mind making this up as opposed to a real visitation? Or does it even matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I've been doing this for 50 years, and I don't know. Yeah, everybody thinks they know. Nobody knows anything. All I want to know is, does it work? Everything I do works. How do I know? Because I'm constantly using it. I'm constantly healing. I heal people over the Internet with my blogs. The Quantum Jumping, we have a blog. And, every Friday for the last 2 years, I've had a blog. It's free. There's no charge for it. One is blog.theamericanmonk.com.
All right, hold on, Burt. We're going to come back. We're talking with Burt Goldman. We're going to be back with him in a moment. Hey, if you are not a Coast Insider yet, join the club for less than 25 cents a day. Simply go to coasttocoastam.com. Click the little banner there on Coast Insiders up there at the top of the homepage and fill out the information, and there you go. And you can get podcasting, downloads, various apps for your phone, and some fun as well. We'll be back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Hey, Burt, how long does it take to put somebody under with hypnosis?
Oh, I've done it in seconds.
You don't have to have a little watch in front of their eyes or anything like that?
No. Actually, all you have to do is have a subject who's listening to you. I really don't want to give you a technique because we'll have everybody in the world hypnotized.
I know we got a lot of people driving cars and trucks. We don't want them to fall asleep.
But normally it's a matter of a few seconds.
Is it like self-hypnosis? When people drive, for example, Burt, they might say, I went from point A to point B, 5 miles, 10 miles. I don't remember anything in between.
That's highway hypnosis. Happens all the time, yes. All of a sudden, time has, boom, gone. But it's a distortion of time.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it has to do with comfort. The more comfortable you are, the faster time goes by. I think Einstein said it best. A minute is a very, very short time when a pretty girl is sitting on your lap, but it's a very, very long time when you're sitting on a hot stove.
Einstein was always right about certain things, wasn't he?
That's right. In sports, it's very, very, very important to be comfortable. The more comfortable a person is, the more time is distorted, like a batter. If a batter is in the zone, as they call it,
yes,
the ball seems to float towards him. That's a distortion of time.
You know, Gordie Howe, the great former Detroit Red Wing hockey player,
yes,
used to talk about how he could slow down the passing of a puck that was coming to him and, you know, was able to just see the goalie in slow motion. I think Mickey Mantle had that same perception of a ball that was thrown at him. These people with greatness have an ability to do something to time, I think. Even if it's imaginary in their head, they can do that.
I can give you the secret.
I expect you to tonight. You know.
It has to do with emotions, George.
Really?
Emotions. Now, let me define the word emotion, first of all,
right,
so everyone understands what I'm talking about. An emotion is any thought that has like or dislike attached to it. The more like, the more emotional. The more dislike, the more emotional. The more emotional you are, the less of your mind are you able to use. In other words, when you're emotional, you're not thinking
straight
in the proper manner, let's say. You have to get your emotions totally out of the way. It's not that easy to do. You have to be carefree. Like I do a lot of healing. And that's one of the things I train people in doing is healings. And I tell them the way for this to be successful is for you not to care whether you heal or not. Well, what do you mean not to care? Of course I care. I wouldn't do it in the first place. That's your intention. As long as your intent is there and your emotions are out of the way, you're going to heal. You will heal people.
And emotion is not the same as passion, is it?
Well, passion is an emotion because passion is a thought that has, depending on the passion, but it's a thought with an extreme like. You're passionate about
exactly. Because that's right. You can be passionate about your job, about the person you're in love with, whatever it is. You're passionate about that, but you're not out of control emotionally if you're passionate.
It's not a bad thing.
No.
But it's a controllable thing. Once you understand what it is, you can control it. And the whole idea is to control all these things. If you can control your emotions, if you can control your relationships, you can control let's say your goal setting. All of these things are very easy to do once you understand the principle behind them. Everything is very simple. As an example, relationships. There are books written on relationships, thousands of books. I can give you the whole secret of a relationship in one sentence. Find out what the other person needs and fill those needs. You're going to have a good relationship.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. And if it doesn't fit your needs, it doesn't work. So move on, right?
Right. If a person has a 10 need, it's a mutual thing, of course.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, if they have a 10 and you're not filling that need, you got a lousy relationship. If you are filling the need, you got a wonderful relationship. That's it. It's over.
That's true. That's a good point.
I can give you the greatest weight control in 2 words.
Slow down eating. Eat less. That's right.
Eat less.
That's so
also, discover there are 2 groups of foods: food you want in your mouth and food you want in your stomach. Once you have that attitude toward foods, you change. What do you want in your mouth? No, you want candy in your mouth. You want sugar. You want fat. You want sweet things. What do you want in your stomach? You want vegetables. You want grains. You want. Once you get that attitude, you understand what food is all about. Is it a mouth food or a stomach food? Some are both, of course.
At what point, Burt, did you begin to think about these other universes that you talk about?
That was, I guess it was about 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
So way before the multiverse theory even started coming up, right?
It was there. It's been around for quite a long time. This multi-universe, the greater universes. And I've been kind of playing around with it. Before it was quantum jumping, I had something called Parallel Dimension Quest, PDQ. We were looking for that other dimension. And then suddenly it just popped into being. And, you know, most of these things with quantum jumping, I started rather late in life. I started playing the piano a year ago, and I was 83. That's not a time to learn how to play the piano.
You're 84?
I'm 84, now? Yeah. I know I don't sound like it, and I don't look like it either.
Good for you. Good for you. Have you always been young at heart?
As far as I remember, yes. Yes. When I went into the Army, people used to when I was in uniform, people thought I was in the Boy Scouts. It was aggravating.
It sure was. You probably pulled out your license or whatever your ID was.
Well, no, I had a uniform on.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
This was in 1945. It was quite a while ago.
Well, these other universes that have been around, do they all serve a specific function or purpose? Well,
the purpose they serve is to what you want to do with them. It's a great motivational. It shows you what you're capable of. What can you do? There is a you in another universe that's already doing it. Now, if you can get to that universe and view yourself doing the things that you want to do, what is it that you want to do? You want to swim to Catalina? Well, there's somebody in another universe that's doing that. Do you want to be a great business person? Well, there's a you that is already a great business person. Once you get the idea that you're capable of doing these things, the only difference between you and the doppelganger that is successful doing the thing that you want or has the talent that you want is because of programming. That's all. When you were young, almost everything that make you the you that you are happened when you were in, let's say, the first octave of life from 1 to 7 years of age. All of the programming took place at that point. Now, through quantum jumping, we can go back to that point and redo it. I call those source foundations. It's the source of all your problems and the source of all your solutions also. Let's say something happened when you were 5 years old.
Okay.
Now, you may not even know what happened, but you can still go back to that time. Now, we do this all the time in hypnosis, but with quantum jumping, you can do it yourself. You don't need hypnosis. You can jump into a universe where you are 5 years old, and you can resolve the problem before it turns into a major thing and creates let's say, a problem in your present life.
I've got a little scar on my leg, a real small little one, and I was looking at it a couple days ago going, where in the heck did I get that? And I started to concentrate, and I realized that when I was about 7 years old, a doctor, I had a little tiny, like a growth on it or something, and my mother was always obsessed with stuff like that. So she took me to this doctor and said, cut it off, cut it off. Well, in those days, they didn't, do what they do now in terms of laser surgery and everything else. And, so the guy, sliced the thing off, but it left a little scar there. And I was able to recall that by concentrating on it. Is that a little bit of what you're saying? To
some degree, yes. Yes, there are ways to bring that out. I can give you a technique, and the rest of your listeners is a sensational technique that can overcome a trauma that happened. A lot of people were, let's say, abused when they were children, and they go to psychologists for years. I'm going to show you a technique that will work in a few seconds that can overcome the trauma very easily, if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, would you? Go ahead.
Okay. You think about the trauma, the traumatic period. Let's say somebody was abusing you. You think about that. While you're thinking about it, you take your eyes and you move them to the extreme left as far as you can, then the extreme right as far as you can, and do that rapidly, as fast as you can. I call it eye movement therapy, EMT. That's all you're doing for about 10 seconds.
That's all?
That's all.
All right.
No, that's only the first part. You do it a series of 3.
Okay.
You stop. And then you think of that particular problem again. You think of the person actually abusing you, if someone was abusing you. And then you move your eyes rapidly from left to right as fast as you can. Eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. Just extreme left and extreme right. You stop. 10 seconds. Then you do it a third time in 10 seconds. And in 30 seconds, the problem's resolved.
What do you mean it's resolved? How's it resolved?
It's gone. The first time I did that, I was doing a seminar in Germany. And I said, when I do a seminar, I always call people up front. Anybody who's got any pain, come to the front and we'll take it away. As a matter of fact, I used to do seminars with Noory Geller. He would
I know him.
wounds, and I would heal people.
Yeah, I know him well. Okay.
Do you know Noory?
Oh yeah, he's a guest on the show a lot.
Mention me to him next time.
I will do that. I'll tell you a funny story later about him when he was on, because we ran I'll tell you now while we're on his subject. He was on our air live, and he had everybody that had broken clocks and watches.
I was about to tell you that.
Yeah, hold them to the radio. And he did whatever he did, and I was getting emails, Burt, from people saying, they're working. My God, they're working. Well,
that's right.
About a year later, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we did that at every one of our seminars. We'd ask people to bring all their watches in. We'd put it in a pile, and we'd both yell, work.
Yeah.
Start working.
A year later, let me tell you this. A year later, we ran that tape again on another one of our programs, and I'm getting these strange emails from people saying, hey, thank you, my watch is working. Noory Geller did that. And it dawned on me, oh, my God, it works even when you run a tape.
Yeah. That's an energy that's there forever. Well, let me do what Noory did. Let me do what I would do.
All right.
A lot of your listeners are in pain right now. A lot of your listeners have major problems in their bodies right now. I'm going to do something, and I'm going to heal. I don't know how many listeners there are.
Millions.
Well,
Burt.
I'm going to heal at least 10,000 of them right now. That's quite a statement, but I've done this 1,000 times, literally. Okay, all you listeners who are in pain, don't think about the pain. Think about the area that is in pain. If you have a headache, think about your head, not the pain. Okay? And in about 3 seconds, it's going to go away because I'm going to use my voice. Take it away. Heal! That's it, George.
Hey, you scared the heck out of me, Burt.
Well, I was supposed to. That scared the pain away also. You're going to be getting a lot of calls on that one.
Let's see if that works. Why does it work? How does it work?
I wish I knew. Everybody's got an explanation for these. George, I've been doing this so long. There's no explanation. I mean, everybody's got this. It's the vibrations. It's you can this, and the Lord is doing it, and this is nobody knows. Once again, remember my criteria. Does it work? If it works, use it.
Does it work? If it works, use it, regardless of where it's coming from.
And no, it's not a magic wand. It doesn't work all the time, and it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for so many people. Now people are going to say, well, maybe it's just a placebo. So what?
That's right. It works.
It works. What if it is a placebo?
No, I agree with that. Does evil fit into this equation with anything?
Well, let me define evil for you. I love to define things. When I can find a definition that works, I'm all over it.
All
evil is a lack of empathy, period. An evil person has no empathy for anything.
For anything, even themselves.
No empathy. Yeah. A person that can harm an animal, a dog, a cat, there's no empathy there. A person who can torture or torment or kill another person, there's absolutely no empathy there. A good person, a saintly person, is empathetic.
How did that person lose empathy or not even attain it?
Well, that's a mystery. What we think, we meaning the general metaphysical community, some think it's from a past life, which is I don't discount that. It's possible, but most of that came from a learned experience. They learned it when they were children. People brought up in a loving household usually learn how to love. They don't know anything about evil.
Got an email in from one of our regular listeners. His name's Brennan, and he desperately wants to communicate with a deceased friend of his. And what techniques, how would you teach him to jump from one universe to another to try to contact that dead person?
Okay, here's the way he can do it, or anybody can do it. There's a number of ways. But first of all, meditation is the first step. You must meditate, because when you're meditating, you're getting all that normal minutia out of your mind, and you're concentrating on one thing. Now, with quantum jumping, what we do, we open a door. Now, we say jump. You don't have to jump. You can step in. You can just imagine yourself there. But what you're doing is going to the spiritual dimension. Now, how do we know we're in the spiritual dimension? The way to represent the thing that can't be represented, because you can't represent the spirit. The way to represent it is through a light, a white light, a bright light. So you meditate, you open a door, and you imagine that you're engulfed in a bright white light. Now that's all that you're concentrating on, is the bright light. And now suddenly see your friend or the deceased there, either walking towards you or just there. Now you might think, well, that's just my imagination. Everything is your imagination. Imagination is simply image making. That's what you're doing. You're creating an image. Is he really there? I think he is. If you see him, he's there.
Yeah.
If he's in your mind, everything that's ever happened to you, George, everything that's ever happened is a memory. It's gone. Everything is in your memory. You have control over your memory.
Yes, you do.
There is no now. Everything I just said is already in the past.
Well, that's a good point. Burt, stay with us. We're going to come right back. We're at the top of the hour. We're talking with Burt Goldman about how to control your own life, your own attitude. His various websites are all linked up for you right now at coasttocoastam.com, including Quantum Jumping, BurtGoldman.com, and Burt'sArt.com. So you can take a visit to one of those sites anytime you